The Church Fathers wrote extensively about how all pagan gods and spirits were actually demons in disguise. Augustine, writing in the 4th and 5th centuries, argued that any supernatural occurrence not from the Christian God must be from demons. This became official doctrine. The most famous example is from Homer's Odyssey, where Odysseus travels to the underworld and performs a ritual to speak with the prophet Tiresias. He digs a pit, pours libations of milk, honey, wine, and water, and sacrifices sheep. The blood attracts the spirits of the dead, who can then communicate with him. In Mesopotamian cultures, demons like the Utuku or Edimu were part of everyday spiritual life and needed to be managed through rituals. What if demons were never invited because people were evil? In ancient Mesopotamia, one of the world's first civilizations, the cosmos was absolutely teeming with supernatural entities. You had the great gods like Marduk and Ishtar at the top, but below them was this massive ecosystem of spirits, demons, and supernatural forces. Some were protective, like the Lamassu, those giant winged bull creatures you see in museums. Others were dangerous, like Pazuzu, the demon of the southwest wind who brought drought and famine. In the ancient world, the universe was not divided into good and evil. Many ancient cultures didn't have a clear good-evil distinction like modern religions. Spirits and demons were seen as powerful forces that could be bargained with or appeased. And to understand why people summoned them, prayed to them, and built rituals around them, we must forget everything modern religion taught us about good and evil. Because the ancient world did not fear demons the way we do now. The rise of monotheistic religions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, fundamentally changed the game. These religions introduced a cosmic dualism: God versus Satan, good versus evil, salvation versus damnation. There was no middle ground. Now they were fallen angels, servants of Satan. Roman household gods, demons trying to lead people away from salvation. But because they were afraid of a universe they couldn't control, thousands of years ago life was fragile. A fever could kill you overnight, and the storm could erase an entire city. A storm could erase an entire city. A bad harvest meant starvation. There was no science, no medicine, no psychology. And when humans don't understand something, they give it a face. That face became spirits to be. Forces, entities. Later we called them demons. It was divided into order and disorder. Anything that disrupted order was dangerous. Anything that could restore order, even if frightening, was useful. Demons belonged to that category. They were not loved. Our ancestors invoked demons not because they were evil, but because they were human, trying to survive, protect their loved ones, gain knowledge, and exercise some control over forces beyond their understanding. Demons, they were not worshipped in the modern sense. They were managed. Ancient people didn't ask, "Is this spirit good?" They asked, "Can it help, or will it destroy us?" The methods for invoking demons varied by culture, but there were common elements. If a child suddenly became sick, it wasn't random. A spirit had entered the house. If someone went mad, it wasn't illness. A being was speaking through them. Ignoring these forces was dangerous. So people did the opposite. They invited them. Invitation didn't mean surrender. It meant negotiation. Rituals were not acts of worship. Incantations were not prayers. It meant negotiation. Demons were not summoned to be obeyed. Ancient priests believed knowledge came from the unseen world. Why? Because humans were limited. Spirits were not. Ancient beliefs held that the most perilous knowledge concerning death, fate, war, and disease originated from non-human entities. This suggests a profound connection between the unknown and the potential for both enlightenment and destruction. In Sumerian myths, in Egyptian texts, in early Hebrew traditions, and later in Greek philosophy, spirits existed between gods and humans. They were closer to the source of reality, and proximity to power always comes with danger. This is why demons were associated with forbidden knowledge. Astrology, alchemy, divination, dream interpretation. These weren't considered evil sciences. They were risky sciences. And demons were invited because they knew things humans did not. If knowledge was power, demons were walking libraries with a price. Kings understood this before priests did. Rulers believed power without supernatural backing was fragile. To rule the visible world, one had to influence the invisible one. So kings consulted spirit mediums. They sponsored rituals. They protected summoners. Not because they trusted demons, but because they feared being powerless. In ancient Egypt, some underworld spirits were protectors. In Greece, daemons were guiding forces. In Rome, household spirits guarded families. These beings were not evil, and they punished imbalance. They enforced cosmic order. Only later would they be rebranded as monsters. Some demons were once guardians, until morality replaced balance. Another reason demons were invited was fear of the unknown spaces. Birth, death. These were thresholds, places where order broke down. Ancient people believed spirits lived there. If you crossed without acknowledgement, you risked destruction. So demons were invoked at gates, tombs, and rituals of passage, not to cause harm, but to prevent it. Children were given protective charms. Homes had inscriptions. Travelers performed rites. All of this was about one thing: do not anger what you cannot see. Demons were invited because silence was more dangerous than contact. Then something changed. Zoroastrianism introduced a powerful idea. The universe is a moral battlefield. Good versus evil. Light versus darkness. Spirits were no longer neutral forces. And they chose sides. Many were placed on the wrong one. Spirits that were once messengers, guardians, enforcers were reclassified as rebels. Demons were no longer forces to manage. They were enemies to reject. The greatest change in demon history was not fear. It was definition. Ancient rituals that once maintained balance were now labeled dangerous. Summoning became forbidden. Negotiation became sin. The same practices continued, but underground. And what is hidden always becomes feared. Why did ancient people still risk it? Because life offered no guarantees. They did it because when survival is uncertain, morality becomes negotiable. There is one final truth ancient history reveals. Demons were invited because humans believed chaos had intelligence, and intelligence could be reasoned with. A storm cannot listen. A spirit might. This belief gave humans something priceless: the illusion of control. Today, demons terrify us because they symbolize loss of control, but in ancient times, they symbolize the opposite. And in a world without certainty, illusion was better than despair. Ancient people did not invite demons because they loved darkness, but to seeking knowledge or prophecy about the future, to requesting help with healing, for the fertility or agricultural success, protection from other malevolent spirits or enemies, and also sometimes gaining power, wealth, or influence.